Hey, what's up? What's going on? It's Rook Hawkins coming to you from the Rational Response Squad. Just coming to talk to you a little bit today about the Ascension story in Luke Acts. Some of you guys have heard about it, some of you haven't. Okay, if you don't know, I'm going to give you a little bit of the Ascension story right up front. Now, this is actually from the Bible. Alright, so I'm going to give this to you. So it says here, as he blessed them, he parted from them and was taken up to heaven. This is in Luke 24:51. Okay, this is the New American Bible, all right, but this correlates with the Greek. And then he says here, when he had said this, as they were looking on, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him from their sight. That's Acts 1:9. Okay, so basically, I have a quick question for you Christians out there. Is that a real event? Do you really think this happened? Okay, the first question I'm going to ask is that, because where did he go when he got up to the sky? Because there's like heaven up there somewhere and like some box that we haven't found yet. I mean, did he just go up to heaven and like God had the Enterprise up there waiting and they transported him to another, dimension? Like what happened? Is this something that everyone can get to? Can we like take a plane up to this transportation spot and then zap us to this location? I mean, to me, this is one of the funniest stories in the Bible, because of course he rode up on a cloud, okay, and if he was actually in the flesh, you would think that he would fall right through the cloud, because the cloud is just condensed water. I mean, now I can understand an ancient source thinking a cloud actually had some weight to it because they saw these big blocks of white in the sky, but I mean, do you really think that he went up to heaven on a cloud and then that heaven is actually in the sky, or did the cloud actually go up out of the atmosphere? Did it take him all the way up to like another plane that he reached light speed at, or something like that? Like, what happened? Just because the Bible's kind of vague on this. And before you give me an answer, I want you to contemplate a few things, because the Ascension story in Luke Acts is not the only Ascension story in antiquity. In fact, there's a lot more, especially in Jewish works. Okay, consider the following, and consider it very, very thoroughly. Now, this is in Josephus, and of course, I follow the line of thought that most scholars do nowadays, and that's that the Luke Acts is actually a 2nd century document. And for those of you who are curious and want some reading sources on that, please check out Dating Acts by Richard I. Purvo. There's about 115 pages of citations at the end of this book, so it's very well cited, very well researched. The book itself is about 500 pages. It's well worth the read. Okay, that's Richard I. Purvo, Dating Acts. All right, that's not the only one. There's also, check out this book right here. All right, it's Marcion and Luke Acts, The Defining Struggle. Okay, check this out. It's by Joseph B. Tyson. Okay. And also, if you want looking for something a little bit more authoritative, you can check out the Contextualizing Acts by the JBL, the Journal of Biblical Literature. It was put out in Symposium Series 20. All right, check that out. There's a lot of information, a lot of good information on Acts, and where new scholarship is headed with Acts. Okay, so it's not just old scholarship. It talks about new scholarship. And for those of you who take my class, you know that new scholarship supersedes old 90% of the time. Alright, so check that out. There's also a little slip in here from Dennis R. MacDonald, who wrote the book Homeric Epics and the Gospel of Mark. Excellent book. Okay, so I just want to get that out of the way. We're not done yet. Now this comes right out of Josephus. Alright, so and again, since I follow that line of thought, I'm a firm believer that that Luke actually took from Josephus in several areas. When he was writing his gospel, he kind of took from it for information to make his version of the gospel seem more real, right? So I'm using this version right here, although I think this version sucks. All right, I highly suggest that you get the Loeb texts, which I have behind me on my bookshelf, but I don't feel like going over there and grabbing it because this one was already here. And since most of you can't read Greek, I'll stick with this one. And since probably most of you have this one's cheap. You can get this at like $16 at like a Barnes & Noble. So, I mean, pick this up if you want. I still suggest getting the Greek text and analyzing it with the Greek text like I've done, and I'm going to read you a verse here from Antiquities of the Jews, Book 4, Chapter 8, Section 48, Paragraph 326. It says, "And he was to embrace Eleazar and Joshua, and was still discoursing with them. A cloud stood over him on the sudden, and he disappeared in a certain valley. Because of his extraordinary virtue, he went to God." Now, this is the Ascension story of Moses and Josephus. Okay, now this is a very famous account. Not only did Josephus have Moses ascend, but also Enoch, right? So Enoch is the other one that ascends as well. Now, that's not the only place. You can also check out Philo. All right. Again, this is for $16 at Barnes & Noble. You can pick this up, or Amazon.com. It's pretty cheap. I still suggest you get the Loeb text, Loeb Classical Library. Check it out. Get the Philos. I mean, of course, they're all in small little sections like this thick, but it'll cost you about $120 to $200 to get the entire set at a decent price if you get them all used. But pick them up anyway. You should. If you don't want to pick them up and you want to get a crappy translation, get this one. I mean, it's not bad, but it could be better. But in Philo, also Moses ascends, and so does Enoch. But getting a little back further, okay, if you don't like first century documents, you still want to say, oh well, they could have taken from Jesus' account, okay, even though it's kind of hard to think that Philo took from Jesus and applied it to Moses. But anyway, let's humor you. This is from the Pseudepigrapha, and of course is a 2-volume set by Charles H. Charlesworth out there. Check it out. This is the first volume. I have the other volume on my bookshelf yet. This is all testaments and other stories of the patriarchs dating from the 2nd century BCE to the 2nd century CE, some even later than that, but most are earlier. And again, this is Charles H. Charlesworth. It's called the Old Testament Pseudepigrapha. Check it out. It's worth a pick-up. Okay, he has the entire translation of 1, 2, and 3 Enoch. Now, 1 and 2 Enoch go from the 1st century BCE all the way up to the 1st century CE. 3 Enoch is like a 2nd or 3rd century document. But that out of the way, 1 Enoch is what we're talking about. And it says here, quote, "And behold, I saw the clouds, and they were calling me in a vision. And the fogs were calling me, the winds were causing me to fly up, rushing me high into heaven." 1 Enoch 14:8-9. Now again, this was written a century before Josephus. And actually, if you think about it, Josephus probably took from 1 Enoch and a few other sources to make his Ascension account fit similar to this. So you have Josephus taken from 1 Enoch and Luke Acts taking from Josephus. Now, of course, some of you might say, well, how do you know that he didn't take from 1 Enoch? Well, that's very possible, too. He very well could have. But there's other internal evidence in Luke Acts that proves that it was not just this account that he took from Josephus. He would have taken other accounts, too, like the 3 same rebel leaders are mentioned, Ananias is talked about, the census under Quirinius, right? All this stuff happened, and it's all actually documented also in Luke Acts as well, besides Josephus. So there's a lot of evidence to suggest that he was taking from this document. But anyway, that aside, now that you know that it's not an original account, the Ascension story, do you still think it was a real event? If you do, I have to ask you why you think that. What makes the gospel accounts historical accounts? Are they named? No, they're not named. For those of you who went yes, think about it. When was the first time a gospel account was ever mentioned? 2nd century, right? And even usually later than that. Think about it. Irenaeus was the first person to name all 4 gospels and actually combine them into some sort of canon. Before him, no one else did. All right? So, now, he's not named. And then notice that it's not actually written by Luke. It's not written by Matthew. It's written in the name of Matthew, in the name of Luke, etc. Right? So they're not actually named sources. Do they cite sources? No, they don't. Especially since we can prove that Luke actually took from Mark, and he doesn't even name Mark as a source. And especially now that we can prove that he used Josephus, he doesn't even name Josephus as a source. And Luke is one of the most historical accounts we actually have, even though it's a 2nd century anti-Marcionite document. All right, so that aside, all right, consider the following. All right, does it have extra biblical corroboration? Do we have other works, enemy attestation? No, we don't. We have no enemy attestation to any of the events that happened in Luke Acts. Do we have any other corroborating evidence? No, we don't, do we? No, we don't have anything like that. Don't lie to yourself. We don't have anything, okay? If you think we have something, respond to this video with something. I'd like to hear what you have to say, all right? So anyway, for those of you who still think that this is a real event, really consider, because most theologians now, most theologians in the JBL and historians in the JBL don't think this is an actual real event. They sort of dismissed it as a growing legendary embellishment, which is exactly what most of the Gospels have become. In fact, I suggest you pick up Charles H. Talbert's book, What is a Gospel? And read that. It's from a Christian who wrote it, okay, which is basically giving up the genre of the Gospels as being mythical and legendary, not historical, so I highly suggest you pick them up. But anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and give you that information. But now it's time for me to go. I got to finish getting ready for my class here. It's 7 o'clock, and my class is in a few hours. So this is Rook Hawkins signing out. Stay rational.